big fish. Little fish, maybe. Oh, God! God, mighty sake. Big year for me. It's a prove it year for me. So let's go prove it. Okay, I'm on Lake Norman, and as you can see behind me, it is foggy, like ridiculously foggy, and it kind of limits where you know, I can't run right this minute. I mean, I guess I could, but it would be dangerous, so I'm gonna wait and let out a little bit. But I'm gonna fish close to the boat ramp. It's the conditions are foggy and muddy. it's muddy. So this looks like river water, which is what I'm used to fishing anyway. So I'm not worried. I'm not concerned. But we're gonna spend a good we're going to spend the next 3 days figuring these fish out. So right off the get-go, I feel like we need to be throwing dark colors, black and blue, and red and black crankbaits. So I'm going to tie on this drop shot just so I can have it just in case, and I'm going to get started. Yep. First Lake Norman fish. 11 inches. 13 and a half. That's doesn't tell me much. First one took me 3 hours. Gotta do better than that. Makes me feel a little better. I've been struggling. Finally found some fish. Maybe. This is a small keeper. It's been like 6 hours since I caught a fish, something like that. Feels like forever. So this makes me feel better anyway. All right, so we're here to start the second day. Man, today is just about covering water. I mean, I don't know that I'm gonna sit in one spot for more than 10 minutes all day long for like 10 hours. Cover as much water as I can, find as much stuff as I can. It's Thursday. I'm not too concerned about sticking fish today. I only caught 3 yesterday. The ones that I caught were dirt shallow. So it keys me in a little bit, and maybe I eliminated some water yesterday, but certainly yesterday was not good as far as catching fish goes. But today's a better day. It's blowing. It is super cold, but it's blowing pretty hard today, and typically that's when Norman fishes better. So lots to do. All right, it's 10 o'clock. I haven't had a bite, and I am not feeling very confident at all. I'm just gonna take a second and just kind of reset. Oh man, it's taking me all day. It's like 1:30 and I just caught this tiniest little spot you can imagine, but I realize this fish is super tiny, but it tells me a little bit. Like after fishing for 6 hours a day and only getting 1 bite. Finally put that damn speed trap on. It's a smaller version. It's the only version I got. And it's red. And that fish was in like a foot of water. So maybe that'll keep me in for the rest of the day going into tomorrow. But so far it's been devastating. Really, really has been devastating. The fishing today. The cold front blew through last night, and the water temperature dropped about 6 degrees. I don't know, maybe that one fish, we can keep working down this bank, see if I can pluck another one off of it. See what happens. Oh, this ain't a giant, but hey, I just caught 2 fish. Basically back to back. On back to back points. This point and that point I just came over. Now, it's not a giant. That fish came out of 13 foot of water. I'm sitting in 13 anyway. So, it's been a tough day. It might not seem like much. You know what? I ain't gonna hide nothing from you. I caught that fish on a wiggle wart. See how loud that thing is? All right, it's the last day of practice. It's Friday. And I'm really not on a whole lot, but I feel like I'm close. I feel like I'm really close to figuring it out. I feel like the fish are shallow. I feel like they'll eat certain things. I just can't get them to bite. And I don't know if it's a timing deal. I'm not at the right place at the right time. I feel like I'm this close. Today's gonna be just another day of trying to just figure things out and just putting together a solid pattern that will hold up. I want to catch a couple fish. I don't want to stick too many, but I got to see if this pattern will work. And I also want to work on just try something a little bit deeper. Even if you remember yesterday, I caught one in 13 foot of water off the edge of a point. So I think I'm around. I think I'm close. I just haven't figured it out quite yet. So that's what the goal for today is, just to figure it out. That's the fish. Baby, there's the boats coming and everything. Okay. That is a Lake Norman monster. Hello. That is a Lake Norman. Now, it's practice day. This fish means nothing right now. But yeah, it means every damn thing. Come on out there. Boy. Alright. Giant. We're gonna put it on the scale. Look how red she is. Okay, let's put it on the scale. This is my new Catch Commander scale. Highly recommend. It's pretty good. Yep. 512, 5 pounds, 12 ounces. That is a Lake Norman monster. That's how you win tournaments out here. 5 pound, 12 ounce largemouth is basically a 6 pounder. It has been so tough. That fish, I know it's just one fish. It came up underneath the dock. I've been fishing super shallow. That fish came out of 4 foot of water. I've been fishing in 1 foot of water, just grinding hard on rocks. It's just one fish. If I can come down this bank, maybe catch another, even if it's a small one, it'll give me a little bit of confidence in this bank here. Guys, I got another one. Feels pretty good. going into deep water too. This is awesome. 2 fish almost back to back. This is a good fish. Try to win another one, another 5-pounder. She might not be 5, but she's 4. She came off right at the boat. That's fine. I had a net man, I called her. That was another 4-pounder. All right. Another good one. Feels like, well, running that one. Might be as good, I don't know. All right, I got to be done. I found, I know, that's a another chunky largemouth. Oh baby! Quit! She will get it to you. Close your jaws. Get in here. No, that's the spot. She ate it pretty good. I mean, I think I might have found a pattern. Red crankbait up super shallow, about as shallow as you can get. I did catch that big one though under a dock. It's just been a random thing. I mean, most of my bites today have been just like this, just like you just saw. I might fish. I don't want to stick anymore. I might fish for. Got 2 points right down here. You might can see. That I kind of just want to go check with that wiggle wart. And then I'm probably going to call it. I mean, I see what I need to do tomorrow. So, but I don't know. I'm gonna go check a couple more spots and we're gonna call it a day. Well guys, that's practice. It's 12:30. Caught 4 keepers today. I don't want to stick any more fish. I don't feel like I need to. Kind of understand what's going on. Counting the fish that got off at the boat, which was at least 4. I think I had 4 fish today for about 14 pounds. But that's including one that's right at 6, who's 5 pounds, 12 ounces. So it's unlikely that I'll catch a big one like that tomorrow. But the big thing is trying to put together a pattern and working the lake and working that pattern. So I hope it holds. I hope I can get bit. This has been a real struggle this week until today. I mean, Wednesday was a tough day. Thursday was even tougher. Today was better. Maybe I figured it out finally. Maybe they just bit for me. I gotta go do some tackle prep now. It's gonna be real simple. It's gonna be like 3 or 4 rods. Maybe 3, maybe just 2. You know, but as you've seen this week, it's been all about the highs and lows. That's how it's all been for my whole BFL career. It's highs and lows, and you've seen that again this week. And it's going to be interesting to see how this works out. And I hope tomorrow is a high. I really do. So that's it. Next time you see me, it's gonna be for real.
Through the night, that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave? They got it quick.
After 3 hard days of practice on Lake Norman, I was actually pretty confident going into this event, based solely on the things that I had eliminated and the things that I had found on Friday. I felt like after Friday, I had a really good shot at winning this thing because I felt like I had found some quality fish. I found an area of the lake that was producing quality fish, quality largemouth. You know, I caught 2 really good fish on Friday a certain way, and it just gave me a ton of confidence going into this event. And I have no idea what happened. You know, overnight. I don't know if the water dropped. I don't know what happened, but it just seems like my pattern evaporated and my fish scattered. I knew going into this event, I was going to run and gun. I knew I wanted to cover. I had figured out the fish were on this rock, these seawalls, and these boat ramps. And I wanted to cover water. And so that's what I did right from the get-go. I made about a 5-minute run to my first stop, pulled up to it, and I would make very few casts on it. I would make 3 or 4 or 5 casts on it just so I can eliminate the idea that something might be there. And I run and I gunned, you know, for the first couple of hours in the morning. And I didn't even have a bite. And yeah, it kind of worried me a little bit. But I mean, I stayed true to my plan. I stayed true to my pattern. And I stayed shallow all day long. And that's why I only weighed in 2 fish in this event. And that is pretty devastating for me personally. I'm not even going to lie to you. That hurts. Because the only person that I can blame for me not doing well in this event is me. Because 2 reasons really. Number 1, I failed to change. I failed to adjust to the new pattern. I failed to do anything differently. What I was doing wasn't working. My crankbait bite was no longer there. It didn't seem to be there. Or at least it didn't seem to be where I thought it should be. The fish that were in the 18 inches of water the day before were not there. And I fished multiple locations. I fished everywhere that I had caught fish, plus new places that I'd also marked and looked good. And I simply could not get bit. And if this was supposed to be a prove it year, I didn't prove anything this past weekend. I proved how not to catch fish on Lake Norman, how not to adjust to changing conditions. And that is something that has been eating at me for days now. I failed to change. I failed to try to repattern these fish. And really from the get-go, my day, I kind of sabotaged myself. I did not fish good at all. And what do I mean by that? Well, I didn't do simple things good. I didn't cast well. I'm throwing this 1/4 ounce crankbait all around, and I wanted to fish it around boat docks and stuff, and I'm banging off the boat docks, I'm backlashing, and I just did not fish good. And I just didn't perform well. And you might hear that and be like, well, does an angler really need to perform well? Yes, he does. Like all your mechanics and all that stuff has got to be dialed in. And I was not dialed in. I just don't know. It just wasn't a good day. at all for me in a lot of different ways. And you don't want to have a bad day in a BFL, you know, and that's what happened. I simply had a bad day. This fish here you're seeing now, you know, it's just a very, very small keeper. There is some benefits of this. This is about 9 o'clock in the morning now. We're going on 2 hours without a bite, and I finally get one and I land the fish. It's a small keeper. So at that time, I'm like, okay, it's 9 o'clock, big deal. I got 6 more hours to find 4 more quality fish, and that's cool and all, but they never came. They really didn't. And like I said, I was kind of sabotaged from the beginning. I sabotaged myself. I didn't fish very well. And here, what you're going to see in a minute is I absolutely lose a fish at the boat that it's my fault. And so let me walk you through actually what's happening right here. I'm fishing this bluff. I'm fishing 2 things here. I'm fishing the dock and I'm fishing the rock back here. And this was my pattern I had found the day before. And you'll see here, I get very upset. There is some cussing. I do beep it out though. But you'll see here in just a second, I'm going to hook up with a really good quality fish, probably 3 pounds. And I just straight up miss it. And you'll see here my mechanics, everything. I'm just not fishing good today. I'm backlashing. I don't know. I was just off. I don't know what it was. I don't know if it's because it was so cold or what.
Good. Big fish. Good fish. Maybe. Oh, God! Man. God, Marty sake. I cast it on that thing 12 times waiting for his ass to bite. I tried to horse it and swing her in here.
So I get really emotional here, and it's partly because I'm so nervous. I wasn't doing that good. It was like 9:30 in the morning. I only got 1 bite, and so I got really emotional when I lost this fish because it was a really good quality fish, and it was at least a 3-pounder. And it's the kind of fish that you want in a tournament. It's a tournament quality fish, and so I got very emotional here. I wasn't fishing like I normally fish, and so I felt like I just blew a great opportunity. But what happens here? How do I lose this fish? Well, first of all, this all happens really quick. I knew this was a high percentage area. There's rock here, there's docks here, super high percentage. This was what I was catching them on the day before. And the fish comes out from under the dock, eats the crankbait, and tries to take me back under the dock. So I fight the fish, I get them, I pull them back, towards me, and I'm fighting. I'm doing a pretty good job here, but everything happens so quick that I don't have the luxury of a net man right there. And I don't use a net a lot anyway, especially when I'm fishing by myself. So I'm used to battling, fighting a fish, and landing them by hand or boat flipping. So what happens here is this fish comes to the surface. And when he comes to the surface, I have a decision to make. Am I going to sit here and let this fish thrash around with treble hooks hanging out of his mouth? Or am I going to boat flip him? And I made the decision to boat flip him. And when I put pressure on this fish to boat flip him, the hooks just popped out. You'll see exactly here, right here, what happens. As I'm fighting this fish, I step backwards. Right there, I step backwards. Because as I'm stepping backwards, the co-angler is stepping forward to grab the net. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to give him room to grab the net. I'm going to fight this fish, and we'll see what happens. Well, as I step backwards, I changed the angle in which that crankbait was in his mouth. And if I had to really say, I would say the hook did not go in past the barb. And there was nothing really securing that the hooks in the bass's mouth. When it's colder, a bass's mouth will actually get a little bit harder, and so hook penetration is not as good. So I got really emotional here. This is the first BFL of the season. I really wanted to do good. I'm a little bit upset with the way I'm fishing, and I'm a little bit upset with me at 9:30 in the morning only having 1 bite so far. So I got really emotional here, and it's just that's fishing. This is an emotional roller coaster for us anglers who put in the time and invest so much into this. So I did get emotional, but It was really just the way my day was. And I did go on throughout the day, and I fished and I fished and I fished and I fished this same dock a little bit more. I fished this row of docks a little bit more. I went and fished everywhere that I knew I felt like I could catch a fish. I fished stuff that I had found the day before, and I fished brand new stuff that looked like the stuff I found the day before. No matter where I went, no matter what I did, I could not get a bite the same way that I caught them on Friday. And what's disheartening about that is I really never slowed down. Like, looking back, like, why didn't I pick up a shaky head? Why didn't I throw a jig? Why didn't I just slow down instead of trying to cover water, with a crankbait? And that's what you hear about Norman. You got to run and gun, fish this, fish that, and you're going to run into some eventually. That's not what happened. Truthfully, I tried to fish this lake the way everybody else says it needs to be fished. I tried to catch fish the way people said they were catching fish, and I got in trouble for it. And I'm sitting in a pretty bad place right now. I did end up catching one more small keeper just out of nowhere. He hit it at the boat just randomly. But luckily I did catch 2 fish and I had a little bit less than 3 pounds. But I did get points for this event, so that's good. But overall, it's so disappointing. And it's disappointing because I put so much into this. I lost count of how many hours I was on the water that week. And yeah, it's just really, really disappointing. I got a good boat draw. I wanted a late flight. I didn't have to weigh in until 3:45. I had 45 extra minutes of weigh-in time. I had everything that I wanted. And it just didn't work for me on Norman. And I wish I could go back, because I would fish the entire day differently. I would have slowed down. I would have been much more patient. I blew it here. And I don't have anybody in the world to blame but myself. My co-angler was a really good guy. And look, I stuck him in the rocks all day long, and he took it like a champ. I told him, I said, look, man, I'm on this shallow pattern, but in order for me to get bit, I have to parallel these banks. I got to put the boat on the rocks. And I did it, and he didn't have a problem with it. And he actually caught one too, dragging a jig behind the boat. And that's another thing that gets me. He got bit dragging a jig behind the boat in 12 foot of water or something. And so when he got that bite, and it was it was an okay keeper for a co-angler, it was like a 2-pounder, I think. I can't remember. But either way, it was a keeper. I mean, that should have keyed me in. So I've failed to read the water. And, doing this for 4 years now, these are things that I should be picking up. So I failed myself in this event. I don't know. I don't even know what else I can say about it. I'm honestly wanting to put Lake Norman behind me until September. I am really, really in need to get back on the water and to get to Lake Wylie. I got to. I'm sitting here thinking about all the things I could have done differently. I could have had a better performance, better showing. I know it's easy to say this now, but I feel like in my heart, I could have won this tournament if I'd have fished differently. If I'd have slowed down, if I'd have fished smarter and not harder. And I made a mistake. And, I struggled there in this event. And we can't have any progression without struggle. I've said it 100 times. It's very hard to come to a brand new lake you've never been to and to be successful. I felt like I was in a place where I could have been successful. But it did not work out for me this time. So I am eager and ready and cannot wait for our second tournament of the year on Lake Wylie. And it's right around the corner. It's pretty quick here. It's 3-4 weeks away. And I'm telling you, I'm chomping at the bit to get back up there. I'm sitting in 125th place. Can you imagine that? I was worried about zeroing, but I didn't zero. I got good points, but I'm still so far behind that top 45. It's not even funny. And really, big deal. You're in the top 45. Why not try to finish Angler of the Year? And that's completely out of the question now, barring some sort of unthinkable, I don't know. You'd probably have to have 3 or 4 top 10 finishes in a row or something. I don't know. But regardless, we're in the hole and we've got a lot of ground to make up. So backs against the wall already after one event. So what that means is, well, Lake Wylie is super important. I said, before this tournament, we're going to be treading, we're probably going to struggle these first 2 events. And we're going to have to make up ground at Car Lake and at High Rock. So that's kind of what it's looking like. But I'm so far behind now, I can't afford to go to Wylie and not have a great finish. That's how I feel. And I'm ready to get back out there. Also, look, I saw a bunch of guys that follow me on YouTube at this event. And they all came up and talked to me, and I was super nice, and I was just, put on a happy face, and it was, acted so excited to see people. And I was really happy to see people that like say they watch me on YouTube. That's really cool. But like when I got by myself, when I had that long drive home and I had nothing to think about, I was really eat up, and I still am now. But what I'm trying to say is I'm super happy that people came up to me and said they watch me on YouTube. That's really cool to see. Our community of anglers here is pretty close knit. And so it's really cool. And I hope these videos help you. That's the whole reason I'm doing it, is just so I can maybe show you something that might help you. And I'm kind of showcasing the highs and lows of bass fishing here. I mean, that's exactly what happened on Friday. I was at a high. I was like, wow, I've found the pattern. And then on Saturday, nope, it's gone. But again, I have nobody to blame but myself. I didn't fish good. I didn't read the water good. I didn't adjust to the conditions. You name it, I did it wrong. So I'm looking forward to getting back out. I'm looking forward to some warmer temperatures. I'm looking forward to fishing a new location here on Lake Wylie really, really soon. So that's Lake Norman, guys. That's what happened. That's let's forget it. Let's move on. All right. Let's just let it go. Let's move on. We're in a hole. We're in 125th place. We got a lot of ground to make up. So you keep watching, and I promise you, I'm gonna keep working, and we're gonna try to figure this thing out. Thanks for watching, guys. Hey, look, we'll be back soon here in a few weeks on Lake Wylie, and we got a lot of ground to make up. To each of the anglers that came up to me after the event, it's so awesome to hear from all of you guys. I look forward to seeing you guys on Lake Wylie, and I look forward to having a much better showing down there in Charlotte. See you soon.